right, let's get started, everybody. Thanks for joining us on another webinar. This one's brought to you by Follow Up Boss, and we've got Whistle Realty Group with us with EXP. Thanks for joining us, guys. Appreciate it.
It's nice to see what's left of you, Tristan. There's not a lot there anymore.
I'm fading away, buddy. I'm fading away. It's a lot of water.
Thanks for having us.
Well, dude, thanks for being on, guys. You guys use Follow Up Boss at such a high level that we needed to have you on as well. So Jennifer also, she's on. And for those of you who don't know Jennifer, she's the customer success manager at Follow Up Boss. She's also highly requested. So stop requesting her. We know she's awesome. And obviously Dan Corkill, he's wearing the Follow Up Boss hat. Those hats have been discontinued. The new ones are coming out soon.
Exactly. Big news.
Big news, big news, just in case you didn't know. All right, so today we're going to be talking about making the switch, how to transition your business to Follow Up Boss and position yourself to win for 2021. Let's get started with a quick intro. If you don't know Kyle, which I think everybody here does, so Kyle, just do a quick intro because everybody knows you, buddy. So.
Yeah, for sure. Kyle Whistle. I run Whistle Realty Group at EXP Realty here in San Diego. Just threw a post up today with our numbers from 2020. We finished the year at 453 transactions, $265 million in volume last year. Run a team of about 30 agents within Whistle Realty Group, and our EXP network is over 4,000 agents now.
Damn, I love that. Chris, you're part of this amazing group, so tell me about yourself.
I am. Thanks for having me. I've been with Whistle Realty about a year and a half now in our Chief Operations Officer role. My job basically for the team is working with people like Jen and Follow Up Boss and integrating good systems to allow us to streamline so our agents are doing the best things with their time.
I love that. So, Kyle, I'm going to start off with that just because there's a big challenge for real estate agents, teams, and brokerages in our business. And I think it has a lot to do with, and Dan talked about this, I think it was like 6 webinars ago, but not taking the time to fully understand the capacity of your CRM. And you bringing on Chris is such a smart move. Can you tell me how that's changed just your system over the year and a half?
Yeah, for sure. So we run our business on something called EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System. What I've found is that there's a ton of real estate coaches out there. I'm pretty sure everybody thinks they're a real estate coach at this point. And very few of those real estate coaches teach you how to actually structure your business. They can tell you how to generate new leads. They can tell you about new apps. They can tell you all that fun stuff because that's what sells coaching. But very few of them tell you how to really structure a business. And so we looked outside of the real estate space and found EOS. If you guys want to learn more about it, read the book Traction by Gino Wickman. Traction by Gino Wickman. It'll teach you the foundation of it. There's 2 parts to it that I think are really important, especially for those that are running a team. One is, as a team leader, a lot of times we have all kinds of ideas in our head, but a lot of times we do a terrible idea taking the ideas are in our head and taking that vision and casting that upon our company and making sure that everybody in the company is in alignment with that vision and knows where we're going so that we can all be rowing in the same direction. So a big part of EOS is really getting the vision out of our heads and putting it out there to the company and getting everybody rowing in that direction. The part where Chris comes in that was really crucial is, as a leader too, I'm part of all these coaching companies, and I'm on the Clubhouses and the Facebooks and the Instagrams and all of these different platforms where I'm hearing about, oh, there's this new lead source, there's that new lead source, there's this new system, that new system. And in the past, I've had a habit of just constantly just trying all these new things and seeing what works. And it's just been a hot mess, right? You're pulling your team in a million different directions while you're trying to row in one direction. So that's not very effective. So one of the roles that EOS adds in is what's known as an integrator. And their job is to take the 20 ideas that come in my head every single day, sift through, get rid of the 19 that are stupid and are going to be a distraction, and focus on the one that's actually going to move the needle and give us a little boost in that right direction. And so that's Chris's role in the team, is to take all the ideas in my, sift through them, find the one that works, and then integrate it into the business, with follow-up boss being one of those really good ideas.
Good answer. So I'm going to pivot to Jennifer, only because you brought up some other questions I have, Kyle. And Jennifer, when you get to talk to teams and brokerages, because you're the customer success manager for Follow Up Boss, what's the biggest challenge you see with the teams and the brokerages you're talking to, or even single agents, in being able to understand how to use this?
The biggest challenge. That's a big question. I joked with Kyle and Chris whenever we started working together that Chris was my person to talk to, because I could tell Kyle was peppering him with lots of ideas and Chris was going, okay, here's the one we're going to run with. So definitely that translation of the high level vision into rubber meets the road. What action plan are we turning on? That can be just a learning curve with picking up a new tech like Follow Up Boss.
Oh, I love that. Dan, do you want to add anything there, buddy? Because you're exposed to everything, right, on this side.
Now, what I took away from that was Kyle was the biggest problem. So once Jennifer was working with Chris,
once we got Kyle to skip some of our meetings, we were golden. No, I'm kidding, Kyle.
Oh, you were the roadblock.
Yeah, but seriously though, I think Kyle actually nailed it. It's like people just going in so many different directions, and we get it. Like, I've been a small business owner, and like, real estate agents, there's so many different things going on. My buyers call me this and that. I'm having this problem with this agent. And I think, it is just sort of like, hey, like, let's get really clear where we want to take you, right? So knowing what your sales goals are this year, what do we need to change in the business? And ideally, you do have someone like Chris, which again, like, smart to bring him on, who can help you make the changes versus just being another thing which you're like half implementing. So I don't know. I think I just like that's what I see. People are doing too many things, exactly like Kyle said.
Yeah.
I think I'd add, if you don't mind, Tristan, the part will even led us to Follow Up Boss. Obviously, thanks for that. It helps to have, someone to do it. But even if you're just running the team on your own and you don't have the team size to need to bring in someone else to do that, what actually landed us on Follow Up Boss was we were trying to solve a lot of different problems, that going different directions. And a lot of times we were trying to solve a problem that was either a limitation of another program or software we were using, or we were trying to circumnavigate the way they wanted us to do it because that was how it was designed. So our first question we really started was, we were trying to solve all these problems. What's the common denominator that would allow us to solve all current problems, but also future pace? And we can kind of do that. For us, we're very tech heavy. So being able to zap and have API connections and have things kind of automated in the background, or virtual assistants to be able to come in, that was number one for us. So I can take a lot of credit from you guys. I appreciate that. But I think a lot of it is it just started by finding what's the most flexible solution for us to really be able to build what we need to build, how we need it to go, to get more of these channel partners, to get more leads coming in, to have more accountability, all these different things. We're all trying to solve the same problem. We want more sales and we want more meaningful conversations with our agents, so that it's topical and not just the flavor of the day. And that's kind of how we landed upon Follow Up Boss, was answering those questions.
I love that. There's a quick question here by Keenan. Is it cost effective to use Follow Up Boss as an individual agent, or is it an overkill? Anybody want to take that one?
Again, I mean, basically the plan for single agents started at like $69 a month. And, I think it's, if you're really building a real estate business, like the CRM and the database is one of those assets that you're going to build over like the next 3, 5, 10 years. Even if you don't start a team, like once you start a team, like you will need something like Follow Up Boss. But yeah, even if you're just a single agent, I definitely think you need to build a database now so that you can really profit from it later. So, whether it's us or someone else, I do think you should invest in, technology to help you do that. I mean, you could do it manually, and just your iPhone will take you so far. But I do think it's something worth investing in.
That's how I started, by the way, Dan. I don't know if you know that. I used Mojo as a CRM for 2.5 years, maybe. Obviously, I wasn't with a team as big as Kyle's, and we are now. But yeah, you can run a CRM with anything. I think it's back to the questions. What are you trying to solve? I mean, if I wasn't trying to solve any high level or high tech, I probably would just go with Google Sheets and be done with it. But that's not, I wouldn't scale and automate a business that's whatever X multiplier I want to invest into my business, right? We're buying leads, we're making phone calls, we're doing these activities. It's like, how do I automate as much of my work so I'm doing the highest and best activity with my time? That's how it starts as an agent. But when you move into a position like Kyle or I have, or any team leader, it's now how do my people do the best thing with their time? Because now you're making money through that leverage. So how do I eliminate, rather than hold them accountable to go enter this, go track it, move it there, move it from this column of your spreadsheet to the other? It's about what's that inner functionality in the CRM or software or spreadsheet you're using to speed up those repetitive tasks so you're doing the highest and best use of your time. I think that's really the question you're looking to answer.
Yeah, that's actually the perfect answer, man. I love that. Well, let's go into the second question that I've got here for you guys. And as we're starting off the year, you get a lot of people saying, well, look, I'm going to start this, I'm going to do this. It's a perfect time to start all over and get going. That's just how we think as a race, usually, as a culture, as humanity. Why now? Why is it time for us to switch, though? Why is it time to move from one place to another using a system like this? Because why not use it in the middle of the year, right? A lot of people are like, well, I'm just going to focus on relationships, or I'm going to focus on my sphere. I'm going to use a dialer this year. I'm going to triple dial, right? Well, why focus on a CRM? Why switch at the beginning?
Well, there's a saying, I think it's like, when was the best time to plant a tree? It was yesterday. And when's the next best time to plant a tree? And it's today. So, this is something that I fought kicking and screaming like a little bitch for quite some time, because making a change is scary, right? Change scares everybody.
Yeah.
But I've known that we've needed to make this change for a long time. And you finally get to the point you realize, like, I'm going to make this change sooner or later. Let's just tear the Band-Aid off and let's go for it. With an understanding that it's not going to be easy, right? Anytime there's change, it's going to be a little bit uncomfortable. Just like, iPhone comes out with a new update and people freak out, or like the new iPhone didn't come with a charging block. Like, who cares? And people like make a big deal over it. Anytime there's change, people freak out initially. And then all of a sudden, 2 months later, they're loving it and they're screaming, their praises from the rooftops. And that's essentially what we're doing, right? Like, this was a hard change. It was scary. It wasn't easy. But here we are singing from the rooftops about how this is one of the most monumental changes we've made in our business. And we should have done it years ago as opposed to even months ago. So I think you got to just get to the point you realize you need to do something, like quit being a bitch and just do it. And deal with the pain. There's a J curve, right? Like, sometimes you got to go down a little bit, but then you come back up and it's a hockey stick on the other end, like the letter J. And that's what this system is going to allow us to do, is come out of this thing. Maybe, yeah, it's a little dip while we transition, but now we're off to the races with the systems we have in place.
All right, so you put this in place, and any of you can take this one, but you put this in place. What are the things do you add on top of it now? Because at the very beginning, it's tough. You're like, okay, I'm switching, or how about this? I'm using a CRM for the first time because I was on Excel, right? Now I'm getting used to this thing. What would be the first step? What systems do you want to put in place at the beginning?
I have a really strong answer for this. I would say just keep it really simple. The first thing you're doing by getting the CRM is you're organizing data to get efficiency. So get the data clean. Like, don't try to get, too crazy and add all. That's the thing about Follow Boss. Like someone's put in the chat, does it come with a website? Like, it is a CRM. That's what it does. It allows, but it's like open source to every company, every partnership that you as a business owner decide you wanted to develop or pursue. Most of them, it has the ability, because they play very nice, it's open source to those companies to build on and integrate with it. So it's whatever you want it to be. And you'll hear me say that a lot throughout this, is that's what we were looking for. We wanted what we wanted it to be. But before you even get crazy with automations or anything, fancier, if your data is bad, if you don't know where that person's name and number even came from, That's going to affect how you're tracking. That's going to affect the type of conversation you would have with that person. Or it might make you miss the opportunity if you didn't put the right notes in there. So I think it starts whether you're switching from Excel or another, standalone or all-in-one CRM. You got to make sure that the bare nuts and bolts of contact data, lead source, however you're going to manage said data, it's able to do that for you. And you got to basically create the rules for the system that you're going to run. So you got to teach Follow Up Boss basically what is your way of working this data. Now let's add more leads. Now let's add more, websites. Let's add, automation. Let's add, bulk texting. Like you can do all of that, but I think first and foremost, get clean data and an operating process, really.
And with that, guys, Chris, do you guys have a system in place with this clean data and process? Do you have a system in place so you categorize incoming leads and past clients and sphere and referrals in a clean way so that agents know what to focus on a daily basis? Like, what does that look like on your world?
Yeah, it's a great question. So just to give everyone just kind of perspective too, we haven't always. We were able to build a business to, the road to 456 that we hit this year. We haven't always, we've tracked source and stuff like that, but full transparency behind the curtain, it hasn't always been the best. And that's most companies, like everyone has a room for improvement there. So we've really started to fine tune that, Tristan, where we're now showing agents, okay, now let's go to C2, look at it by lead source. Now that that's clean coming from Follow Up Boss, hey, this is how you're performing on Zillow. But actually, let's look at your sphere. You closed, 80% of your business from sphere and open houses, but you're sitting on the dialer calling expireds today. Let's focus on what's actually helping you. So it also plugs into your other softwares and systems because it's a clean data set. So that's why I really said to start with focusing on that data. Like for us, we, Jen helped us. We went through, we had, I think, 70, 80 lead sources in our prior spreadsheet that we were at before. And we came in and now we're down to, I think, 25, 26. So we had to do a lot of consolidation retraining, but that helped our ops department, that helped our marketing department where we're going to put ad spend. So there's a lot of like further out benefits of it, but it all starts, I think, with that first is figuring out how you're going to organize that data, clean it up before you even come into the new system.
All right. So what do you like about the switch? Why Follow Up Boss? Because I've had Follow Up Boss since 2012, I think, 2011, 2000. When did you, Dan, when did you create Follow Up Boss?
We got started in 2011. I think you probably came on like 2012.
Yeah, there you go. 2012.
Early adapter.
Yeah. And then I think I was Dan's second user. I'm joking, Dan. I don't know. Anyway, I've loved it since, and I kept it, and I tried other platforms, and I was like, oh, this is cool. But I always kept Follow Up Boss there because that was like our core database. So in your switch, what are you finding to be the most valuable thing for your team? Because your team, it's different, right? We're talking to all different types of people here. But for you, what's been the most valuable thing?
I got this one. It's really three things is what it boils down to. One is customization. So a lot of the other CRMs out there, this is the CRM, this is the options you could pick, and this is how it's displayed. And it's very limited. Everything is very restrictive on what you can do with it. And now they've built it to try to make it a one size fits all. And that's cool, but one size fits all doesn't work for a team of our size. Where we're running with 30 plus agents. Like the one size fits all, we kind of outgrew that. We needed something that was more customizable to our team and how we operate. So customization, number one. Automations, number two. We're able to really automate a lot of things and remove manual work. Time is something that I completely obsess over. And anytime that one of my agents is having to go do, things that could be automated, it's very frustrating. So the fact that things can happen automatically and you can set up all kinds of different automations within the system was huge. And then the third and the biggest one was integrations. So now we can run anything we want through Zapier, both in and out. A lot of the other CRMs, if they even will integrate with Zapier, are one-way zaps, in where you could, if something happens in the CRM, you could trigger something to go out, but you couldn't trigger something in Zapier to come into the system. So the fact that we can integrate two ways with a variety of different systems like YLOPO, and the way that this talks back and forth with YLOPO, the way that it talks with call action, with AM cards, like all the different systems that it integrates with is huge, where a lot of the one size fits all systems out there, they're trying to be the everything for you. And, you know, they're good at a lot of those things, but they're not great at a lot of those things. So now we can go pick the greatest IDX and remarketing platform in Ylopo out there. We can pick the greatest, you know, texting and calling program out there in a call action. We can go pick all the best programs out there, and they'll fully integrate two-way with the system, which is huge.
I think I'll add one more thing to that for the agent perspective. Like that's as a team, like what helps us in management. But at an agent level, I started out as an ISA, and I would call, you know, only expired to cancel business. That was my gravy. But what made me really good at it, every night before, you know, I had at least my follow-up list built, and I'd get in an hour or two early and I'd build the new list for the day. And that's how I would, you know, I'd spend 2 to 3 hours some days, like, especially like end of the month, you know, you're coming on the first, like I'd prioritize my day so I didn't miss the follow-up when those heavy lists came out of new leads. But what Follow-Up Boss does is in advance, you can set and prioritize by website activity, last communication, and you can get very granular to your, again, that customization. What we've determined, and actually Barry, who's in-house with Follow-Up Boss and Ylopo, we just copied his. So it's anyone on this call and anyone ever to join Follow-Up Boss, it's plug and play. And we're actually using that. We haven't deviated much. But you get to have your agents just come in and just push these lists numbered 1 through 5. And now rather than asking them to go look through their 8,000 leads in their name, go guess what's your best use of your activity. Don't mix it up. Don't get crazy. Hey, don't be on top of things and prepare. Just show up, hit the call button, do your list, and everything will take care of itself. And they're static. So they're always evolving and adapting based off real activities that your pipeline's doing. And I think that's the game changer at the sales level.
I love that. So with that, I want to answer one question that kind of goes with this, because Troy has got a good question. Kyle or Chris, how do you deal with spouses in FUB? We struggle with this data.
I can jump in there maybe.
Sure.
We're actually building a feature called relationships for that. So if we have time, we can maybe post a screenshot. If you actually look in the Follow-Up Boss community, if you're not in there, just join it on Facebook. Tristan and Kyle and Chris are in there all the time, me and Jennifer. And yeah, we've got some screenshots in there of how it's going to look. So there's basically going to be better first-class support for them. Right now, you can apply labels to like phone numbers, and you can put both people's names in the fields, and Jennifer can tell you all the workarounds. But yeah, just to let you know, like we are building like a first-class feature for that as well.
I love it. I love it. All right, Jennifer, I have a question for you. And this goes kind of what we were talking about with Kyle and Chris. When a single agent is transitioning into Follow-Up Boss from wherever they're at, what feedback do you have for these agents? Like, what can make it easier for them to transition into this?
My best advice is always just dive in, pick one contact that you're working with right now and start on that one contacts page. Send them an email, send them a text, make a note about what you just did. Because as you do that, one, it's really easy. You kind of figure it all out as you go. And two, you start building on that and you build that momentum to get at those smart lists like Chris just hit on. When people ask me like, what's something in Follow-Up Boss I'm not using as well as I should? It's almost always really leverage those smart lists. You have powerful data there at your fingertips to show you who to follow up with next. So just that dive in on one contact gets that snowball rolling, and you start working more and more contacts, and then the system gets smarter and smarter for who you should talk to next.
All right, cool. Good answer. All right. Common concerns about Follow-Up Boss. I mean, that was one of them, the spouse, right? And then the other one that I hear a lot is, well, it doesn't have a website, or it doesn't have this and it doesn't have that. And the cool thing about Follow-Up Boss, once you get in it, you realize that, like Kyle was saying, it attaches to everything. So like Agent Legend and Shout Boss, and it attaches to Bomb, right, for video. It attaches to call action. It attaches to websites. There's a whole mess load of websites it attaches to, and the data goes back and forth too. So it captures all of that rich information. That's the cool part about it. So the one thing that I have noticed over the years is that you can start off as a single agent and you can grow into like a partnership, into a small team, into a mega team, into a brokerage, and never leave Follow Up Boss. That's the coolest thing. And I don't know if I can say that about any other CRM out there. It just grows with you. I mean, Kyle, I think that's one of the coolest things, the ability for it to morph with you as you grow, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, whether you're a single agent or you're a team like us or you're running a brokerage, I mean, it will work for each of those because it's customizable. So I can customize it for what I need for my team. But if a solo agent, there's a couple of solo agents asking questions, like if you're a solo agent, you could customize it for your workflow. If you're a broker, you could customize it for your workflow. And I think that's the magic of it, where the all-in-one systems, they lack that customization. They're trying to make something that fits for all three, but what fits for a solo agent doesn't fit for me, and what fits for me doesn't fit for a broker. So that's the beauty of this system, is it's just completely open source. Like, we look at it as, it's the Salesforce of real estate is really what we look at it as. Like, Salesforce is the best overall CRM in the world, but it's not geared towards real estate. But the reason Salesforce is so great is literally anything you want can integrate in or out of it. All the biggest, Fortune 500 companies out there all use Salesforce because of the, the customization of it. This is Salesforce specific to real estate.
And we did choose this, by the way, just for perspective, over Keep, or I forget the other name for Keep anymore, but and Salesforce both. Like, both were considered, and it's exactly what Kyle said. Is there's functions like teams and groups. So at the, once we, regionalize, or if you have an expansion team in another state, they can be on there and you can monitor down to the reports, their smart list views. You can literally create completely custom views down to the individual level, team level, whatever you want. So for our admin, they're actually in Follow Up Boss to help our agents. Back to that, what do our agents do the best? They talk to people and they sign contracts and they help get them into homes or sell their home. So that's all we want them doing. So if they're missing opportunities, our admin can actually set up smart lists that are different than the agent perspective, mostly looking at what data reporting is maybe missing to that portal, or what needs to be updated in Zillow's profile in the back end, or where are we missing something. So we can set up custom smart lists by any of the data points within any lead profile, which you guys would have to tell me, Jen and Dan. I mean, there's probably like 86 different, it's unlimited really, because you have custom fields that you can literally create, fields that don't exist in Follow Up Boss, such as birthday, or, maybe their favorite, whatever. Like, you decide. Create it, write it in, and now it's a trackable column within the CRM that you can organize data off of.
That's pretty solid, man. I love how you broke that down. So let's continue then on that trend, because some of the biggest teams in real estate are using Follow Up Boss, like Robert Slack. We're going to have him on next week, by the way, if you want to sign up for that one. That was pretty cool. He's got a whole VA organization out of the Philippines dialing on Follow Up Boss and making sure that they've got the priority leads ready to go through Ylopo and sending them to their agents. Can I understand, just so this is for me, this is a question for me. What's the process like for incoming leads for you guys, and how do you dictate who gets them, right? Is it very similar to what Robert is running, or is it different? Does everybody get a certain amount of leads? And what do you expect of your agents on your team in regards to these leads?
Yeah, I got you. So we are of the belief there are certain leads that are really good to go directly to agents, and there are certain leads that are really bad to go directly to agents. So we like to look at each individual lead source and determine if this is a lead that should go to an agent or an ISA. Because I've done this for 15 years now, and something I've learned is that agents are just never going to be good at long-term follow-up. They are fantastic in the short term. They are by far the best person to take those leads in the short term. But if you expect an agent to take a Facebook lead that has a 12 to 24 month conversion cycle on it, and you expect your agent to nurture that lead for that 12 to 24 months, you're crazy. So what we like to do is look at each individual lead source and assign the right leads to the agent. So Zillow, for example, right, they're always the hot topic and making all kinds of moves these days. Within Zillow, like some people are like, oh, what do you do with your Zillow leads? Well, let's make sure we're clear on which Zillow lead we're talking about. Are we talking about the lead that visited my profile and called me? Or are we talking about the lead that filled out a form and Zillow followed up with and they said, I don't want to talk to an agent? Or are we talking about the lead that filled out the form that said, I do want to talk to an agent. Can I actually go see the house today? Like, which lead are we talking about? So if it's one of those direct connections that said, yes, I want to go see the house today, we believe that should go straight to the agent because the agent is the best person for that call. On the flip side, the person who filled the form out and said, I don't even want to talk to an agent, but then you're giving that lead directly to an agent, like, I don't know if you could do anything more stupid, right? Like that person specifically said, don't assign me to an agent. I'm not there yet. And then you're like, give it to an agent. And the agent's like, when do you want to go see the house? It's like, dude, they said they don't even want to talk to an agent right now. Now you're trying to shove a showing down their throat. So a lead on that end of the spectrum, we're going to have our ISA team handle. So we look at each individual lead source. We focus our agents on the leads that are further down the funnel, direct connects with an Opcity or with a Zillow. But then on the flip side, like a Facebook lead that's long-term or a Zillow nurture lead that said, I don't even want to talk to an agent yet, we'll have something like that go to an ISA. So that's kind of how we like distribute the leads amongst who. And then for the agents, in order to receive leads, we have expectations that we lay out that are very clear up front. We run by the motto that the system runs the company and the people run the systems. So the system is in place and all the agents know what the system is. Based on your production, here's your expectations to get leads. And so some of those expectations are that you're going to be on role play calls because I want to make sure that when I give you a lead, you actually know what to say to the lead. So depending on their production, they have a certain, number of expected role plays per week. We also role play our presentations on a weekly basis because I don't want you to just know what to say on the phone when you talk to a lead. I want you to know what to do when you sit down at the kitchen table and, help that seller realize that you're the right person to help them sell their house. I think far too many agents don't do any role playing of any kind, whether it be on the phone or in person. And I think it's crazy. Like, why are you going out there, spending thousands and thousands of dollars on leads to not know what to say when that lead, calls you, or not know what to do when you sit down at the table with that lead? Like, that's insane to me. Like, why are you spending all this money here, but not putting in the effort over here? So we're looking for agents to have, a variety of different expectations, but role playing is a big one on there. And so as long as they're meeting the expectation, their lead flow is on. And if they're not, their lead flow is off. Same thing with their appointment flow. When those ISAs have an appointment, if an agent is on, then they can get that appointment. And if they're not hitting those expectations, they can't even get those appointments.
I love that. That's really good, man. So on that, with the system, so let's say you've got that. This is probably a question for Chris. Chris, after you've got all the agents on it and they're flowing and they're good and they love this, well, what APIs are you guys using to make life easier for agents so that everything connects? Because this is why I love Follow Up Boss. You can connect it to absolutely everything, right? So what are you using?
I would say, and actually the real truth, I mean, we were on Follow Up Boss in beginning of last year, and then it was just our ISA team at first, which was not working to have. If you're thinking of that, just don't recommend it at all. We had two CRMs running, one for inside sales, one for outside sales. But call action, and it kind of goes with your leads question, Tristan, is for the leads that do go to the ISA department, those are round robin for the people that are on duty that day. And then we start call action campaigns right away. Because back to my experience within the ISA world, and you look at the Harvard Business Review, and Kyle did a full YouTube, I think it was at one of the conferences on this statistic, but it takes 7 to 8 attempts just to connect with a lead and qualify, nonetheless do a deal with them. So knowing that that's real, especially on these pay-per-clicks and these colder leads for the ISAs, we start drip texting them right away, trying to engage and get them qualified and create a conversation. We were using call action, for a few years before Follow Up Boss. And so that API connection, not just API, but it's actually built in as a, I think there's other dialers out there and other CRMs that have it, but call action allows us to actually have different numbers for each lead source. We were just doing it today. So we're tracking down to the lead source. Where does the call come from? And Follow Up Boss just connects 2 ways with that API to let us know exactly what's in both ecosystems and its mirrored version of itself.
All right. Is that your
number one API we use that actually moves the needle quite a bit for us?
Nice, dude. I love that. So what other APIs are you guys using?
You're using the send out card, Kyle?
The AM card.
That one up.
AM cards is in the works.
Yep.
All right.
Zapier's the biggest one though, and I don't want to go too far just to I don't want to throw wrenches in people's toolboxes they don't want to use
Chris
yet.
can talk Zapier, let me tell you.
Honestly, Zapier is probably the one that I hear the most from teams, because that allows everything to connect into Follow Up Boss the most. That's why people
and it's even zapping within Follow Up Boss. And they work very hard to take those zaps and make them internal. They have their own automations recipe section in Follow Up Boss to kind of replace those internal Follow Up Boss to Follow Up Boss zaps. But I would say that's the number one API usage we're using is Zapier to do things with either internally to move leads around and do things, or even with portals down to like a Google spreadsheet. For Zillow, one of the requirements we have is we have to update that backend portal. And we all know that none of that connects to any CRM. I don't care which one you use. But Follow Up Boss, because it's open source, we can do custom fields. We can have, for us, we have the Zillow link go directly into a lead profile, so that when our admin has to update it, they just click a link on their Follow Up Boss record, and it takes you right into that Zillow experience. And that's built right in natively through Zapier now. But we can also, if a lead stage upgrades from like OpCity, for example, we have to update that. That's part of our contract with them if you're with them. Well, we have it so when deal stage changes, let's say from appointment set to met, it triggers a zap, which then adds it to a spreadsheet. So our admin VA can go and update the OpCity portal, which takes my agents out of all these portals for all these lead providers. If they're all in all these lead portals, it's less leads they can work. So I would say that and call action would be the number one, kind of hand in hand.
All right. What about, do you guys use the Follow Up Boss Pixel?
We do. Yeah, that's a huge, we actually were late to the party on that. Jen hit me upside the head and had us using that. So that's a super valuable, especially for agents. We're all protective of our own data as companies, but at the agent level, they're building their own databases too. So what the Pixel allows us to do is when they're on the website, their client, it has a little pop-up that says, hey, call me, and it actually puts our agent's picture that's tied to the back end of Follow Up Boss on the YLOPO site, and then tracks that activity through Follow Up Boss through the smart list. So I think more than just for us as leadership, it gave the agents a sense of when we showed them their picture, when their client goes to the website, their client's seeing whistle this, whistle that. We all want, even as single agents on a team, we want to feel like we're part of, and they're seeing our branding, they're seeing us. So just something like that, and just reestablishing that connection between agent and client, I think helps a lot with our agent retention as well, and letting you know that the ecosystem's not just for the company level.
Jennifer, I have a question for you. Chris keeps on referring back to you like you're like the go-to person for all of this stuff. What's your exact role at Follow Boss? What do you do?
Well, earlier I heard you introduce me as the customer success manager. I'm not the only one. I'm the only Jennifer, believe it or not. I've never been the only Jennifer in my whole life, but so far I'm the only Jennifer at Follow Up.
Oh, so hold on, just so I understand, what does your job entail? What is that?
Yeah, my day-to-day is working with teams, especially as they're brand new to Follow Up Boss, and so many are coming from other systems to Follow Up Boss. So there's this switch, and like Kyle hit on earlier, that's scary. Change is hard. So I joke that it's like half tech support and half kind of coach friend. We're walking through this change together. Moral support, right? But really focusing on getting, my goal is to make it as easy as possible when you're switching into Follow Up Boss to get off the ground and get running. Nobody wants to mess with all the, behind the scenes stuff. Let's get that done quickly so you can get back to business.
So would you be the one that helps out in making sure that the database is imported correctly with the right tags and processes and systems in place?
Yes.
Oh, you're like the missing.
That is a piece of it for sure.
You're like the missing piece to every team transferring to a CRM. That's
why I'm so in demand, right, Dan? Yeah, it's the imports of the.
Dan, what are you calling Jennifer?
Yeah, Ryan, we're trying to do that. We discuss this all the time. I think Jennifer just about to say the imports are the funnest part of the job. Especially how some of these other CRMs export all the data. Jennifer just loves that. So we're seriously though, we're actually, we have a really good import tool. It sounds scarier than it is. And we have people like Jennifer to help you. And then we're also even right now, just making that import tool even better. So say you're coming from top producer our system already knows you're coming from top producer and like maps everything correctly. You're not even really needing to do like hardly anything. So
that's the true cloning of Jennifer. As I said, here's where this stuff should go. And now we do that automatically.
That's easier, actually. I love that. All right. So guys, now that you've been with Follow Up Boss, what, fully in, like a little over a year, using it as your main CRM, or how long? About a year, a little over?
Really like 4 months, I think, all in.
Okay.
So that 5-minute project originally.
So that's cool. What are you feeling is next in using the system? Like, what does that look like in the next 5 to 6 months for you guys?
For me personally, it's the email marketing side of it. So they have a really good connection. I can't think of I think it's SendGrid. And that's probably our next thing is YLOPO, that's your, in any all-in-one, that's your website. For us, we use YLOPO. It's getting people back to our site. And so we have, in our database, thousands and thousands of people. It's trying to get people back to the website and engaging them with content that's meaningful. So SendGrid will allow us to go ahead and connect that and get people that are not just looking to buy or sell, which our website does a good job of, but knowing that, we do real estate at a high level, we're involved in our community, and doing all of that to keep people coming back to our site, keep engaged with our brand. So more marketing front, I would say, and engaging with SendGrid.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah, I definitely see that as a plus, because I see some people use SendGrid or some people use MailChimp, which then goes to what Follow Up Boss does so well, and that's using the API, right? That's the cool part about it.
You pick it, whatever works best for you. I think that's the theme.
What about you, Kyle? Anything that stands out?
I think the biggest thing for me just as a leader is inspecting what I expect. So doing spot checks is so huge. I think one of the really cool things that I've learned with working with Zillow was the ability to listen to calls that your agents are taking. And it can be very, very eye-opening when you actually listen to some of those calls on the Zillow end. So previously, those were the only calls I could listen to. But now with Follow Up Boss, our agents are actually using their phone numbers because they can call out and receive calls in with their phone numbers. So the fact that it's tracking, and recording those calls, for me as a leader, to be able to go in and listen to some of those calls periodically, those create some of the best coaching opportunities that exist. So that is honestly my focus moving forward, as I've kind of stepped out of production and more into just leading everything, is to really spend some more time focusing on that and taking my 15 years of experience and everything I've learned to, help the agents through some of the struggles that they're running into on those calls to really just make them all, at the same level that I've been running at personally.
That's one of the things that we use actually on our end. What we do during our huddles is I just remind everybody, hey guys, look, record your calls and then text me once you're done if you want some criticism or if you want some props. So I get texts throughout the whole day. Check out this one, check out that one. And I'm like, oh man, that one was terrible. That was sad, right? And then some other ones like, oh my God, I can't believe you got through that whole process and got the appointment. I didn't think you were actually saying the right stuff. And I'm like, I'm wrong. This is crazy. So that really has helped our team a lot. And there's one question, Kyle or Chris, I want you to answer this one. Where was it? Because it's a common question all throughout real estate, okay? It's by Lisa. What's up, Lisa? She says, I'm trying to streamline app costs. I pay for a website, I house top producer, et cetera, et cetera. What do you recommend to bring it all together on a system that works and is cost effective? What does that look like to you?
What I would say, I think the beautiful thing right now is we just finished a year. So everybody should be looking through all of their numbers from last year. You should have a P&L. You should know how much you spent on everything in your business. You should also know what the return was on all of that spend, also known as return on investment. So this is a really good opportunity for you to go back through the last year and look at everything that you were spending money on and figure out what's working, right? What am I actually using? And I do a little exercise when I go through my P&L. I call it pump it or dump it. And so I go through and look at every single line item that I have. And if it's something that's working and we got a good return on investment, let's pump it and let's throw some more money at it. And if it's something that we literally didn't even use, I forgot I was even paying for it, let's dump it. So I would start with an exercise like that, the pump it or dump it exercise, to just streamline what you're actually spending money on. A really good exercise, if any of you guys have never done this, is call your credit card company when this is done and tell them you lost your credit card. This is a fantastic exercise to audit your expenses, because what's going to happen as soon as you do that is everything you had set up on an auto pay, you're going to start getting emails and calls like, hey, your credit card didn't go through. And it's another way to help you realize like where you're blowing money. So first thing, trim some fat, right? Like get rid of all the stuff that.
Dude, real estate agents are so bad at knowing where their money is going. That is a brilliant idea, because they're like, oh, I didn't know I was paying for that.
Totally, man. Even if you don't have a P&L or track your income or expenses, that's the way to figure out what you're spending money on that you don't need. So start with that, and then think about moving forward. Like I would argue with you that your CRM is the most important tool in your toolbox. So the best carpenter in the world doesn't go and build amazing cabinetry with a freaking Walmart hammer, right? Like he's not going and buying the $8.88 hammer from Walmart. He's going in with the best hammer that money can buy, because if he wants to build the best cabinetry, he needs the best hammer. So think about if your CRM is the most important tool in your business, just like a hammer is the most important tool to a carpenter, shouldn't you have the best CRM available? Like if you're going to be investing money into anything, shouldn't you have the best system available? I would argue this isn't a place you want to be cheap and, just get like a basic product. Like we're building out a new LMS, a learning management system. And I looked at some of the cheaper options and I realized extremely quickly, like these are all crap. Like, let me get the best. Let me go to Teachable, right? It's like the best system out right now. So let's invest in the best stuff so we can get the best result. Look at these things as investments, not as expenses. So for us, obviously we made the move to Follow Up Boss and Ylopo. That's our combo. We believe that's the dream team. And if I was thinking about, for anybody out there, whether you're solo, team, or broker, that's where I would be looking as that combination.
One thing you pointed out there on the hammer, right? Getting an amazing hammer because it's your tool. It goes back to what Dan said 6-7 webinars ago. You've got the hammer, it's an amazing tool. Now freaking learn how to use it, right? You paid so much for this damn hammer. Take time to learn how to use that hammer. That's one of the biggest issues with all industries when they buy tech, right? They're just like, okay, now I bought it. It's going to solve all my problems, but you don't take time to actually learn how to use it.
When she talks about her money, Tristan, like budgeting, I mean, that's kind of another avenue that we ended up at Follow Up Boss with, is like back to my original opening kind of statement is tracking the data and how that's organized. If where you're at and that Google spreadsheet you're using isn't doing it, and you don't feel like you know where your conversion rate's at per lead source or where your return on investment is by lead source, and it's not even clean, you're trying to make decisions with faulty data, you're not going to make the right decision. You're just going to make a decision. So the CRM is kind of that basis of starting out, getting good, clean data to make those financial decisions on how is this add-on, that you added, that shiny object, as Greg said, like, is it working or is it not? Pump and dump, to Kyle said, you can't do that if you don't even know how it's performing because you're not measuring it properly.
Yeah, and look, entrepreneurs and most real estate agents function like entrepreneurs in the sense that everything looks pretty awesome and they want it. That's normal because we have such a, that's what we are. We want to grow, right? Like that's amazing. Let's go all in and use that. That's a normal process. I'm going to go through these questions super fast and then anybody can take them. All right. So let's give like a 10 to 15 second answer for them because everybody waits until the end to ask all the questions. I don't know why. Here we go. Kevin. How do you handle the transaction coordinating process? Do you integrate a system with Follow Up Boss? Do you use Follow Up Boss or APIs in that process?
That's you, Chris.
Monday.com, it's again, same thing as Follow Up Boss. You can customize it to work however you want, and it connects fully with Zapier. We used a company called datahelp.io to help us build it, which Jen and Dan connected us with. So they're building out internal stuff for it as well, but Monday for us.
All right, sounds like Jennifer's the answer. Thank you. Next question. I love Follow Up Boss, but I've struggled to find a website and IDX that provides good PPC with it. Any suggestions for the best sites and PPC manager?
Just ask Jennifer.
Dan, we need a shirt that says just ask Jennifer.
That'd be awesome.
We went with Ylopo. I mean, Ylopo's in a whole nother league compared to all the other IDX solutions out there. And not just because of the website itself, but the remarketing on the back end of it to bring people back to the website. We look at Ylopo as adding 2 assistants for every single one of our agents. One assistant is the marketing assistant that's remarketing all of their existing leads. And the second assistant is Raya, which is the AI texting. One of my agents just closed like a $400,000 listing this week where Raya engaged with the lead and there was like 20 texts back and forth. And then my agent gets a phone call and it's like, hey, I want to see if we can meet on Saturday to list my home that we were talking about. And my agent's like, let's definitely do that. And then he goes and looks and realizes there was a 20, text thread with Raya that just turned into a come list me phone call for him. So we look at Ylopo as adding 2 assistants for each of our agents.
Facebook's literally studied them as well for their success with Facebook leads and pay-per-click. So they're doing things right over there.
That's very true. All right. Do you have to integrate a Zap to be able to use Follow Up Boss to its full advantage?
No, it's a plug and play if you want it to be. You can just get fancier if you choose.
Cool. All right. Cameron said,
I think the hard part of these, do you brag about the cool features that you can custom build out or make it appealing for everyone? No, it is plug and play, but you can also build it to be a Ferrari if you want.
That's true. It starts with like a base model and you can add a lot to it. Cameron says, PPC wasn't available. Do you guys have another option? It wasn't available in his market. Anything else?
They're sold out.
Jennifer, do you know of anybody that does PPC that can connect directly to Follow Up Boss?
General answer there is any web traffic that you're driving to your site, we can be picking up through a squeeze page, through the pixel, all of that. So we can circle back and see if there's like a good PPC recommendation.
All right. And then Kevin's asking about call recordings. Typically what we do, Kevin, this is why we remind our agents, we start the conversation off and say, hey, this call is being recorded, and then we go right into it. That's how in California we go around that.
Or this is Jen on a recorded line.
Yep.
Easy.
Yep. Super easy. It feels uncomfortable at first, trust me, because I've tried it, but then after it's like, it's easy. What ISA integration do you recommend?
Internal.
ISA recommendation?
I won't lie to anyone. I won't pump. We don't work with anyone external. I've not had success. And then there's a lot of strong companies out there that do integrate. That's a Dan question or Jen, but we prefer in-house.
All right, same here. I think when it comes to ISAs, in-house is definitely best. Greg saying every LCA webinar lets us know about yet another way to spend our money on shiny new tools or services. That sounds so appealing. Greg, that is very true, but our job is to show you the technology that's available, and your values will determine where you go. So there you go. Lorraine agreed. Yeah, I love that. Lorraine, let's see what you got. We already answered part of that. I think we've got, guys, anything else you want to add? Kyle, Chris?
I mean, biggest thing I would say is just if you've been thinking that you need to make the change, just do it. Just tear the Band-Aid off and go for it. You will not regret it. Is it going to be like the smoothest, easiest thing in the world? No. There's always going to be a little difficulty in change, but if you really want to build a business that can scale, you need a platform that can scale with you, and this is that platform. Especially, for those of you guys running bigger teams and stuff, that everything is going toward the channel partners like an OpCity, Zillow Flex, and all of those things, and they each have their own specific requirements of what they're looking for from you, the frequency of updates, all that stuff. We're able to build customized stuff on the back end and make it very easy, where we have a Zillow segment and we make sure that we update everything in accordance with their expectations. We have an OpCity segment so we can update with their expectations. Like if you want something that can scale as you grow your team and your company out, this is the system.
I love that. Look, if we didn't answer any questions, because they all came in at the end on Facebook and here, go ahead and message any of us. Kyle's on Facebook and Instagram. Chris has an Android. I have no idea. But Dan and Jennifer are both easy to be reached if you're already with Follow Up Boss, and you can always reach out to me. Chris, I was just joking. Dude, I still like you.
I'm gonna get into the Apple world for Clubhouse. I'm almost forced at this point.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Right here, Chris. Just come get it, baby. Come
Those,
get it.
those tablets and iPads are looking great. I think we're going to stick with the Android for now.
All right, and be sure to check out followupboss/LabCoats. Take a look at that. And we've got, Dan, is it the 7-day trial or the 14-day trial? I always get that wrong.
It's a 2-week trial. So yeah, you get an unlocked trial. You can check everything out. I think you should definitely try whatever system you're thinking of switching to. I don't know. I think there's a disconnect if you have to buy something first to use it. And I think like Kyle and Chris kind of summed up some of the reasons for switching, but yeah, we really do try and make everything simple for you. I know agents don't want complicated technology. Again, like we just want to help get these systems in place your business needs and, you know, let you get back to making sales essentially.
Yeah, and you guys are good people too. I think that's a massive part of us loving Follow Up Boss. You guys just are super.
Jen responds 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Jen loves the like 12 a.m. text message. Like that's just what Jennifer.
I'm gonna have to test that out, Jennifer. I'm gonna be like,
this is a good time to say we have a great team with me. It's not just me.
11:59 p.m. Here we go. Test Jennifer.
One thing I'd also just, one other thing I'd just throw in there is like, you know, we do these big powerhouses like Robert Slacks, the Chris Lindows, the Kyle Whistles using the system, and they're running these massive teams. But a lot of them started out as a single user. Like Robert started as a single user in our system. Chris, way back in the day, was a single user before he built out his hundreds of agents. And if you're a single agent, because I know a lot of people have been asking those questions, you actually get the same technology that these crazy successful teams are paying for. And honestly, if I went back 10 years when I was starting this business, I wish I had this technology. So yeah, just think about that. Like I know $69 isn't even maybe the cheapest single CRM you can get. There's ones for $10 free, $25. But honestly, like you are getting a lot of great service and a really solid like tech platform. So yeah, honestly, I think it's a little bit of a steal for a solo agent. So I just want to throw that in there.
I love it. Thanks, guys. Appreciate your time, Kyle, Chris, Dan, and Jennifer. Thanks for being on. Thanks, everybody.
Appreciate it, guys.